Well, welcome everyone to Victory and Glory, the American Civil War. This is your host, ID Jester, and I've been lucky enough to be granted access, early access to Victory and Glory by Lock and Load Publishing. So, big shout out and thanks to them for that. What I'm hoping to do with this is do some tutorial video series on the Victory and Glory, specifically the American Civil War. Talk to you about all the components that go into this for those of you who are unfamiliar with this gaming system, and for those of you that are familiar with Victory and Glory. Napoleon, I'm hoping to at least go through some of the things that have changed and updated for the American Civil War. So let's get to it. Before we start, I will say that this is a pre-alpha build here. This is only version 1.0 alpha. So a lot of the things that we say might change before final release. So hopefully when that time comes, we'll update and kind of talk about some of the numbers that have changed or anything that's been added or changed along the way through the alpha and beta process. So just keep that in mind, guys. This is alpha, and we might run into a bug here or there, or we might not see things exactly the way they will be in the final release. So again, just keep that in mind as we go through this, but wanted to give everyone an early introduction to Victory and Glory and the American Civil War. So before we start, let's go ahead and just show you what I've got in the preferences and control panel there, so you can see what we've got going on there, what options we have selected. I do have the music actually turned off at this time. It seems to be whenever you record and you're doing tutorials or talking a lot, trying to explain things, and there's music playing in the background, it's very hard to fine tune that music. So what I've done is just decided to turn that off. It does come with a beautiful music score. And of course, there is a slider so you can adjust it at home to get the best music play out of it. But for the tutorials, we won't have the music playing. If we go into the advanced controls, you can see what other options we have on there. And there you go. So just thought I would show you guys what options are there, at least in the alpha. Again, this is just alpha. Hopefully we can get through these tutorials in like 5 to 10 minutes. This one here is just an introduction and overview. So let's talk about Victory and Glory. The American Civil War is a game of grand strategy. We're going to take on either the role of the North or the South and attempt to win the war. You're going to move your armies, you're going to fight great battles, you're going to recruit troops, and you're going to conquer enemy cities. The AI will control the other side in this great conflict. If we actually go into new game, you can see that the default campaign is the 1961 historical scenario, which you can play either as the Union or the Confederates. There is, at least in the alpha here, another scenario called the Border States scenario, which you can play as the Union or the Confederate. If we would say select this one here, um, it gives you a nice introduction, talks about the Civil War and some more great artwork and stuff. There's going to be 3 different difficulty levels in this game. There's going to be the corporal level, which gives the player a little bit of an advantage. The major level, which basically equals things out between you and the AI, and then the general difficulty, which makes it a little bit tougher for you, so you can fine tune your game experience with either the corporal, the major, or the general level. Well, how do you win? Well, that's a great question. Winning the game ends under one of the following conditions occur. The last turn is played, so that's based upon the scenario you actually play. Either that or the will to fight rating for either side reaches 0. All cities of one nation are occupied by enemy troops, or the war weariness effect falls elections, which we'll talk about in a later updated video. So these will be the 4 things that will end the game. And when the game is ended, then we're going to get a certain number of victory points. So when the game ends, the score will be given to the player based upon how many enemy cities they occupied, how many major battles they had won, and how many special event cards they had played. If their score is higher than the score of the enemy, then they have won the game. Right now, scoring is going to be based if you play the Union side. You get 5 victory points for each Confederate city you occupy. You get 15 victory points if you occupy Richmond. You get 5 victory points for each major battle victory. And you get 10 victory points for each major event that you play. If you play as the Confederates, you get 10 victory points for each major battle that you win. You get 20 victory points if you capture Washington, D.C. You get 5 victory points if you get European support on your side. You get 15 victory points for each major event that you play. And you get 50 victory points if the Union sues for peace. Based upon your amount of points that you earn versus your opponent, if you have between 0 and 20 points, it's either going to be a marginal victory or marginal defeat. 21 to 40 points will be a victory or defeat. 41 to 80 points would be a great victory or a terrible defeat. 81 to 120 would be a famous victory, an infamous defeat. And if you gain or lose by over 120 points, it's going to be an epic victory or epic defeat. When the game does end, you're going to get an end of game screen that will show your final score and your victory level, as well as the complete history of your American Civil War that you just fought. This display will include all the major battles with casualties in the winner, as well as all major events that did occur during your replay. Well, everyone, that's about it for our introduction to the game and what you're going to be doing as we get ready for this wonderful title to come out, Victory in Glory of the American Civil War. Hopefully this is a good introduction to you guys out there that have not seen or played any of the Victory of Glory series, but we'll get into turn overview and talk about armies and selecting armies in the next episode. So hopefully you'll turn in for that. Until then, we'll see you all very, very soon. Thanks for watching.